What's up, guys? Operator Poopski here, and today we're going to dive into everything that is attachments and sidearms and equipment. In the other video I did for this one, we covered the optics, so if you're interested in that, go check that one out. But we're going to cover everything else. Oh, and different ammunitions as well. So we're going to do this one in an actual single-player game so that we can actually use them and see how they work in-game. So I'll use the M16 as a standard, and bear in mind that everything costs points. So your base gun costs points. You know, if you're a rifleman, the AUG A3 is 3 points because it has a built-in foregrip. The M16 A4 is 1 point. So the AK-5C is 1 point. The AK-12 is 1 point. The FAMAS is 1 point. So these one-pointer guns are flexible in that you have more points to work with to build your overall loadout / your class. The higher point guns obviously have a certain utility to them, but now you have less points to work with. What's right, what's wrong is irrelevant. It's whatever it is that you're trying to do given the class that you're using. And as with anything, make sure that you're picking the right class. So if you want to use the M16, well, do you want to use the M16 as a rifleman, as a support, or as a marksman? The differences between those I've covered in previous videos, but just keep all these things in mind as you start spending points. And I don't know if I need to state the obvious, but you should have this all figured out before you jump into live games. That's why there's a single-player mode. That's why there's a shooting range, or you could jump into a shooting range, a multiplayer shooting range, so that you can interact with other players while you're doing that. But a word of caution, just because it's a shooting range doesn't mean that they're not going to shoot you. So just keep that in mind. So we'll just work from left to right. As far as attachments go, for assault, or for riflemen rather, the standards are flashlight, foregrip, laser sight, and suppressor. We'll see if we can't take all of them. We can. Okay, so they speak for themselves. A flashlight's a flashlight. A foregrip is your foregrip right there. It stabilizes the gun. And a laser sight is, in fact, a laser sight. And a suppressor does suppress the gun. It is pretty expensive, but it literally defines how you're going to be playing the game if you're playing co-op. Well, really, if you're playing any game mode. So let's jump into the game. Okay, so using your attachments. If you're right-handed and you're putting your hand on your foregrip, you squeeze. Well, in my case, I'm using an HTC Vive, so they have grip buttons on the side of the handle of the controller. I don't know what you're using. It might be different for that, so you have to reference that. But as far as HTC Vive goes, put your hand up, squeeze it, grip it, and now you have your foregrip gripped. Oh, I didn't take a red dot. Whoops. Oh, well. It's important to note that under the options, before you enter the game, the base options of the game, you can set it up. So I'm pretty sure you can set it up so that it'll grip if you put your hand towards it. You don't actually have to press a button. That's a preference thing. I like to grab it and let go of it when I press the button and not before. While you have your hand on your grip, if you press left trigger, not right trigger, because obviously right trigger is your shooting trigger. Left trigger will activate your attachment. Well, in this case, I have two, so it's activating only one of them, my flashlight. And this is great if you want to signal to another player real quick. You can turn it on, turn it off. You could be like, hey, that's my flashlight. Or, if it's dark and you want to see, you have a flashlight. It will also blind other players who have night vision on, although just because they're blind, it doesn't mean they can't tell where that blinding light is coming from and easily shoot at it, so just keep that in mind. If you don't have a flashlight, pressing your left trigger will turn on whatever attachment is on there. So in this case, your laser... If you want to turn on the attachment without hitting that trigger, all you have to do is just move your hand towards it and press trigger. So as you can see, it's not just a dot, it really is a laser. It's not very visible in high light areas. This map is a nice balance between nighttime and daytime, as it's not too dark. We have like street lights. But that dot, bear in mind that depending on the range, that dot might not exactly line up with your actual sight, which might be confusing. You can also see your, do I have night vision? I do have night vision. There's your night vision. I'll get into that later, but just to tell you about the laser will create a very, very visible beam in night vision, which is also very great for signaling your position to your teammates. Let's say if you're in a giant map that has an open sky, you can say, hey, I'm strobing my position, that's my laser, and in co-op anyways, you can confidently do that because the enemies aren't going to be sticking their laser straight up and going like that. But obviously bear in mind if you're playing PvP and it's nighttime and somebody has night vision, or even if they don't have night vision, if they see that laser, it's a dead giveaway. So I would take caution with lasers. But obviously it makes it easy to shoot from the hip. I can't really do that. I can't really shoot from the hip because I have a virtual stock on, but if you aren't rocking one, I don't know why you would do that. Or if you were shooting one-handed, say with your pistol, you can put a laser on your pistol as well. If you have to hurry up and one-handed shoot, not with that, one-handed shoot, that laser is definitely going to help do that. Let's see, what else do we have here? Oh, right, suppressor. Okay, so there's two ways to basically play any game mode, loud or quiet. Now, just because you put a suppressor on doesn't mean that you're whisper quiet. You can still definitely be heard. It's just not as loud. As far as co-op goes, enemies who are in, I don't know their exact radius of where they can hear a suppressor, but if I were to guesstimate it with my back to a wall here, if you shoot, they're going to hear you within here. They're going to hear you within about that area, more or less. And just keep in mind, if you shoot an AI opponent with a silencer and he starts shooting back and then you kill him, just because you have a silencer on doesn't mean he does. They're still going to hear his shots and flock to that. So just keep that in mind. If you're going to be quiet about it, make sure you kill them before they start shooting. And just to give you an idea of how quiet it is. Oh, this is so odd. I've never taken an angled sight without a primary sight. That's interesting. Probably not a smart move, but you get an idea of how quiet it is. Hopefully, I can find these guys without taking 30 minutes. See how quiet that is? Now, here's the difference. It's not exactly the same gun. It's a pistol, but it's still pretty loud. And you see him running? In case you're wondering, no, your silencer does not wear out. It's not that kind of video game. And you see how different that was between me ambushing the first guys and me shooting the pistol, and now they're rushing. You also have to keep in mind that once you've shot, they haven't necessarily found you, but they are absolutely running to that position. I'm speaking of co-op, of course. But just because they haven't spotted you doesn't mean you're going to get shot at. But if you have been shot at, that means they have found you in their line of sight. You are spotted. They do know where you are, at least in that moment. And another important thing to note with that is that if the moment they see you, you have to expect a grenade. And that's one of the most important things about being spotted is grenades, because grenades explode and they kill you pretty quickly. They're also very hard to see in dark maps. Okay, so there's your suppressor, laser sight, foregrip, flashlight. As far as ammunitions go, this is pretty much it. You have the standard full metal jacket, which costs nothing. You can get a tracer, which also costs nothing. If you don't know what a tracer is, it's every couple of bullets you'll have one that lights up to trace where you're shooting. I've never seen a utility for it because you're really only going to see tracers at night, and at night people typically have lasers and night vision, and your laser is going to light up a target way better than a tracer round is. So I don't know. I would like to see a video. I would like to see footage of someone using tracer rounds effectively. And then you have your AP rounds, which armor piercing. They're more powerful, but at the cost of 2 points. It's like the difference between hitting them with 2 shots as opposed to 1, and you're probably going to be able to let off that second round anyways. It's just my opinion. If you have the points, spend it, but also bear in mind that it's heavier, so you get literally half the ammunition. That is the main thing that bothers me about it. If the ammo decrease wasn't so much, I might be more inclined to do it, but, yeesh. I mean, if you're good at scavenging ammunition, maybe it's whatever. But I've never bothered with it. But it's there. If you know it's going to be a short round, and there's not that many guys, and you want to just be a murderer, yeah, take the AP rounds. Why not? So that covers all of the rifleman attachments. They're not really that different elsewhere. Let's see, under specialist. Yeah, you have all of the same things. Suppressor. Why do I keep saying suppressor? Foregrip, laser sight. Look, if I haven't said it already, you should never not take a foregrip. I mean, unless you're doing shooting with a bipod exclusively, which is pretty rare that happens, if ever. You should absolutely have a foregrip. If that means you have to sacrifice a grenade, if that means you have to sacrifice a laser sight, or even a suppressor, yeah, get rid of the foregrip, absolutely. I'm sorry, get rid of that item, take the foregrip. Yeah, the ammunition is the same for specialist. That's all the same, except for the shotguns and the MK18. So the shotguns, you have buckshot and slug. The difference being buckshot spreads out. And again, when I say spread out, a lot of people have some misconceptions of what shotgun ammunition is really like. When I say it spreads out, it does spread out, but it's not exactly like huge. It's not like it's going to clear a room. I mean, depending on how big the room is. And then you have slug, which is literally just that. It's basically a bullet, a big bullet coming out of a shotgun. Maybe I'm not too keen on shotguns, but I would assume that a slug would do more damage to a person. But in this game, it seems like buckshot does the most damage. Maybe I'm just getting that wrong. But just to give you a quick idea of what buckshot looks like. So let's see, at a decent range, a range that you would expect to shoot somebody with a shotgun, there's your spread. Now, a single bullet would just be right there. So, yeah, it's a bigger spread. But don't expect to, you can almost see it, too, in the cloud of smoke. Don't expect to do a crazy amount of things with a shotgun. Oh boy. Excuse me. If it's not obvious, a slug, there's no spread. It's just a slug, so it's just a big bullet. that's it. Oh no, I'm sorry. So moving on, the MK18, as I've stated in its tutorial before in a previous video, is the only weapon that has an underslung grenade launcher. Yes, isn't that great? It costs a lot. At least the frag version, you can take a smoke or a frag. The frag has 4 points, so point yourself out accordingly. As I've stated before, you only get 1 round, so make good use of it. And using said grenade launcher is as simple as making sure, because you can grip this from 2 different positions. You can grip it under, and that will not shoot it. That will affect your accessory, your laser, or your flashlight. Or you can grip it here. Come on. As you can see, that is ready to shoot the grenade. If you pull the trigger, left trigger, right trigger, you can, be shooting rounds, or shoot your grenade. There is a distance limit where the grenade has to arm. So if you shoot it up close like so, nothing's going to happen. I think the range is more or less about, I don't know, 10, 15 yards. So about maybe where this block is with my back to the wall, or maybe to the staircase. If you shoot within that, nothing's going to happen. Maybe it might be able to take down an enemy if you shoot them with a dud grenade that doesn't blow. I don't know. I've never tried that. I don't really mess with this thing too much. Okay, and just to show you what it's like to shoot smoke with the grenade launcher. And this one's not too ridiculous to take because it's only plus 2 points, and I could see a huge utility in launching smoke. Especially, I would say, especially in PvP, because if you know that there are some enemies, the opposite team at a certain position, and you want to blind them, you could launch smoke right into their faces, and then that forces them to move. Or, at the very least, they don't know where you are, or they can't see. So, there's that. So I keep taking the night missions because I want to show you how the night vision works. It really cleans up, the view. Even if it's kind of dark, it doesn't even have to be a very dark map for the night vision to benefit you, but also it doesn't have to be a very bright map for the night vision to not work because everything's too bright. And the way to use your night vision is to you just kind of reach up to your head where you would imagine the night vision is resting on your helmet, and just click the trigger. It's very common for players to accidentally, I do this all the time, I accidentally turn my night vision off when I'm trying to hit my radio. And I guess the important thing to do is, instead of reaching to where your ear is to activate your radio, instead reach to your neck. Because there's no way you're going to trigger your night vision if you're reaching your neck, and it'll still count for the radio every time. And obviously for your night vision, just reach to the top of your head. Easy. Anyways, we'll just launch some smoke and see how far we can shoot it. As far as the sighting for launching this grenade launcher, honestly, I don't know. I couldn't tell you how best to do that. Just guesstimated. Obviously, that's shooting it at a flat note with no arc, a little bit of arc, and that went pretty far. There you go, smoke. And if I'm not mistaken, still no reloads. Yeah, you still only get the 1. Wouldn't that be great if you could just keep one right here and do the load it up? Like, why not? Why is that not a thing? It should be a thing. You got to pay more. Make it a grenadier class. Wouldn't that be cool? Why not? I mean, I guess it would become that whole thing about the whole noob tubing. And I guess people, then people would flock to just using the grenade launcher, but whatever. Okay, so that covers the MK18. All of these other weapons don't really have any unique attachments or unique stuff to them. Just bear in mind that not every weapon has the same kind of attachments. Like the P90, for example, it has its own ergonomic front grip, so you can't put a front grip on it. And no, it doesn't mean that it's nice and stable on its own. It's actually not very stable, and I wish you could put a foregrip on it, because this is great in real life as a compact, like, personal defense weapon, but in this game, it makes for a highly unstable fire, in my opinion. So that's all of the attachments for Specialist. I don't believe that support is really any different. Let's see. Nope. Bipod, foregrip, flashlight. An LMG is the type of gun where you would typically put tracer rounds, but, blech. Also, a very good gun to slap a bipod on. You'll notice that there were no bipods in Rifleman or Specialist because bipods are only accessible to support classes and marksman classes. But yeah, bipods are cool, highly effective. I like to use them when I actually have a good chance to, but I would have to say that I'm not good at finding those opportunities or setting myself up, I guess, to use that bipod effectively. But it definitely doesn't stop me from trying, and it shouldn't stop you either. Rock that bipod. Using the bipod is pretty straightforward. That's it, closed, so it has no effect. You tap your trigger on it, and you have to find a flat surface. So no, you can't put the bipod there. No, you can't put the bipod there. Yes, you can put the bipod on the ground, but that would only work if you were going prone. So let's see. If you wanted to stand and shoot, let's find a good spot. Nope. Oh. There we go. That works. You don't need your left hand when you're shooting bipod. And just be aware that that bipod is locking you into that position. So if you're getting attacked, breaking free from said position is as simple as moving away while your gun is still locked down. You can just move away from it or press trigger on the bipod to deactivate it. Of course, if you move away while the bipod is still out, the gun will pull off, but the bipod will still be opened, so it'll still reattach to something if you move it towards a surface that can apply to. That's it. That's it for attachments there. Let's see. Attachments as far as marksman goes, I don't believe they have any that are any different than assault. Yeah, you get a foregrip bipod suppressor. So, no, you won't be able to put a laser if you're playing marksman. So if you want to be sniper, if you want to be like a spotter with a laser at like in a nighttime, in a night match, maybe don't be marksman, but you can still take, under rifleman, you can take the M39 EMR, take a 2x holographic sight, slap a laser on it, and now you're essentially a sniper who can spot and point out targets with the laser. That's why it's important to know what's available in each class. So, like, depending on the mission, I want to do this, so I'll go to this class, so on and so forth. But yeah, important to note, no flashlight, no lasers under marksman, but they do have a suppressor, foregrip, and bipod. Yeah, and they have the AP rounds. Again, you already have such minimal ammunition as a marksman that I would be very careful with taking AP rounds. Okay, so moving on to the explosives. That we've been focused on the left side of the screen. Now over here, we have your secondary attachments. For your secondary weapon and secondary weapons, explosives, equipment. As far as explosives go, you have a whole bunch of different colored smoke. They're all the same, except that it's a different color. You could use them to, obscure vision, or to mark your position, or to mark an enemy's position, or I'm shooting at, green smoke, I'm at red smoke, whatever, or white. There's no difference between them. You can take You can take two white smokes, or you could take a white smoke and a green smoke. It's kind of irrelevant. And then obviously you have your flash grenade and frag grenade. You'll notice that it says white smoke twice and flash grenade twice, because that's indicating that you can take two of them. So if you wanted two white smokes, you would have to click both of those white smokes, as you see right there, and vice versa for the flash grenade. And then obviously you have the frag grenade. The frag grenade is the only one that's 2 points, so it is a little expensive, and you only get one, but if you put it to good use, well, you put it to good use. Okay, so the most complicated thing about grenades is putting them back on your belt. It's not like I would say your magazines are the easiest to put back. You kind of reach more towards your hip, and it can be very easy to accidentally grab your grenade instead of a magazine. Ideally, you want to just put the grenade back exactly where you grabbed it. There's really not much of a margin for you there. This is kind of an ongoing issue, because it's the same button to grab them, and they're basically in the same place. And as you can see, my frag grenade is in the front. Okay, so using them, bear in mind that if you're grabbing it, your grenades are typically your grenades are always on your left-hand side. But if you're right-handed, you're probably going to want to throw it with your right hand. So if you're not reaching for your right, you have to remember that you have to pass it to your right hand. And the thing is, the moment you let go of the trigger, it drops, right? But if you're moving in the slightest and you let go of the trigger, it has a sort of bounce to it. Like, I'm not bouncing it up like that. The physics of it are a little strange. Actually, I would say that they're very sensitive. Very sensitive. But the reason for that is it's not very hard to throw these a long distance. I think that's probably done on purpose because they don't want people to, like, wind up their arm and, just throw it like a baseball, because we're playing VR and most people don't have... This is begging for an accident to happen. Somebody smash their hand or break something. So, practice with it. Obviously, you pull the pin. The grenade is not live. Well, I would say it is live, but all we've done at this point is effectively remove the safety. But the moment you let go of this trigger, it's going to blow. Whether you're by it, whether you throw it, whether it's still in your hand, whether you let go of it and then pick it back up, it's going to blow up. So the moment you pull that pin out, you're making a commitment, and unlike real life, you can't put the pin back in after you do it. So, obviously, 2 ways to do it: either overhead throw or underhand throw. Or actually, there's probably a third way too, because a lot of times at flashbangs, you'll be at the corner of something, and you'll just kind of throw it in there. Wait for it to pop before you go in, obviously, because then guys are going to start coming after you, as they might be right now. Don't forget, flashbangs are loud. It's the equivalent to shooting an unsuppressed gun. Although that might have been far enough that they're not noticing. I don't think they are. Okay, well, they're definitely going to notice this. Alright, so the frag grenade. Same dealio. Pull the pin out. You've disarmed the safety. The grenade's not going to blow up. Oh, and you can cook it by releasing the trigger. Don't drop it. Yeah, that got cooked pretty good. Right, so it's very important that you use your flashbangs correctly and be very conscious of where your teammates are, because you can obviously blind yourself or them, and that is so rude. Whenever you throw any grenade, it's always important to, if you're playing with other people, to say something. If you have to hit the comms, hit the comms, or if they're in your vicinity, say something. You would typically say grenade out, or frag out if it's a frag grenade, or flashbang out. Say something, because, the enemies don't throw flashbangs. So if somebody suddenly gets blinded and no one said anything, they're going to be looking around at who's missing a grenade. So just so you see what it's like to be blinded, I'm going to stand in this container and blind myself. I'm going to close my eyes because this really hurts. As you can see, you have probably a good 5 pushing 10 seconds of disorientation. It can be less if you aren't as close to it and you can only be like partially blinded, but yeah, it's not fun. So smoke grenades, excuse you. Smoke grenades are very useful, not just in PvP. They will actually give you cover from AI opponents. You just have to make sure you place that smoke right because, they are still AI opponents. So if there's a sliver of space that isn't covering the smoke and you walk through it, they will still shoot at you through it. Using smoke is no different than using any other grenade. You pull that pin out and, drop it, throw it wherever you want the smoke. Notice that it is going to go in one direction. If you mess it up and you're able to, you can always just pick your smoke back up and put it somewhere else. Or if when you start shooting at AI opponents, they will drop smoke. They will drop smoke, and if you need to, you can just pick up the smoke and move it. You can also put your smoke back on your belt. And run with it. I wouldn't recommend it in most cases, but for example, if you are playing evac and things are a little hectic, I've actually had a guy, I learned this from him, he was definitely leading us, and we were on Suburbia, I think. I didn't know where the helicopter was, and I said as much, and he said, just follow me. And I'm like, yeah, but we're getting shot at like crazy right now. But that's all he said was follow me. He popped green smoke, put it back on his belt, and just ran, and I just followed the green smoke. And, keep that in mind. It can be a useful thing in the right circumstances. And we made it, by the way, which is rare to succeed in evac. But as far as the frag grenade goes, to my knowledge, there's no way to cook it without letting go of it first. Like, you can't press a button and cook it. So once you pull the pin, if you want to cook it, all you got to do is just pass it between hands. But now I would pass it again before it blows up and throw it. Pass it and throw it. Okay, so that handles the explosives. As far as equipment goes, these are the little add-ons that you can take with you. There are some things that I just always do. I always make space point-wise for this, and that's body armor and an extra syringe. That's me. I think a lot of players do this. I don't know what's more valuable than taking these, but it doesn't take much to kill you in this game, but sometimes that little bit of body armor is the difference between just having to stick yourself with a syringe and continuing on, or being killed. I always take an extra syringe because otherwise you do only get one, and you get shot once and you're bleeding. That's it. You need to take that syringe or you're going to bleed out, and that's it. No more syringes, no more revives. So having 2 syringes is just, in my opinion, it's a must. It is a must. Let's cook another grenade. So let's see what the fuse is. Actually, you know what? Let's count the fuse. So the moment I throw it, start counting. I counted 5, explosion on 6. 5 seconds. So I think the saying is, how's it go? Grenades have a 3-second, 5-second fuse. I think I got that right. In other words, just because it's 5 seconds, count 3. Yeah, you'll notice how I took a lot of hits before I died. Granted, I'm on rookie, but that body armor is definitely what made the difference there. Right, so body armor is a must. Extra syringe, a must. I've already told you about night vision. A good thing to do if you have the points to spare, just never take night vision off, because you don't want to be that guy that goes into a nighttime game, a nighttime map without night vision, and it really does make it brutally hard. Even if you have a flashlight, you can only look so far with that flashlight, and the flashlight is a dead giveaway, obviously. I just always keep the night vision on. I never take it off. No, never do. And yes, that does mean that I go into daytime maps with night vision on my head. I don't care. I just do it. All right, aside from that, you have the air drone and the ground drone. I don't bother with these things because it's just so boring to use them. For me, I just want to shoot and maneuver and. But that's just me. That being said, if I have the points, I will slap a drone on just in case, because if you're having a hard time finding someone, well, bust out the drone. And to do that, which I don't know if I need to explain this, but aside from your night vision being on your front forehead and your radio being on your neck, every player has a tablet behind their head. So literally I reach to the base of my neck, like the back of the base of my neck, and you grip. Oh, I think I dropped it. No, I didn't. You grip and pull it forward. So on this, you obviously have your bearings that also coincide with the one on your wrist. It tells you how many hostiles are left, just like your wristwatch does. And it gives you a short view of your immediate map. You can't really pan the map and move around, but you can see where you're at right there. If you have any downed teammates, it'll show you an X. I think it's an X where they're at. But that means that they're still revivable. So if you think someone's down, but you're not sure where they're at, but you think they're near you, check your map and it might tell you where they're at. But just bear in mind, you're only seeing up to that point. You can kind of cheat and get it cornered there, but that's about it. Anyways, your drone is right there on the other side of your tablet. To activate your drone, you just click that little guy right there with the left trigger. And then now you're in the drone menu. It has directions there, and you launch drone. The drone is loud, and AI targets, AI bots seem to spot it pretty easily. So at the very least, you know that they're in that general vicinity if you didn't spot them first. So to use it, you do have to grab the other side of the pad. You can have some of the controls accessible, but not all of them. So left trigger, left controller descends, right trigger ascends, and then left touchpad to strafe, forward, backward, left, right. Right joystick to turn, not just the drone, but the camera. And if you press up or down, it's inverted. Down looks the camera up, and up looks the camera down. It can be a little tricky at first, but, just practice with it in the shooting range. By the way, you don't have to crouch while you're doing this, and if you need to move, you can just let go of the left side and use your locomotion movement to, you can now move. It's almost like you want to plant the drone in an area where you can have good overwatch. And that's me moving around, you see? Wow, this is like the most I've ever used a drone. But, so you don't have to stay still. You don't have to be kneeling. Honestly, I'm going to sit down because I'm lazy. Okay, so left trigger descends, right trigger ascends. That's me looking at myself. And as it said, you can invert or swap the sticks if that's how you want to use it. And that's pretty much the aerial drone usage. So you press forward to basically move forward while tapping on the right stick. And there they are. They're probably going to start shooting at me in a second. What's up, guys? Just droning around. And ideally, you want to spot them, call it out, You'd say I got a squad at, what is that, 260-ish, 270, moving towards the right, past the shipping container, blah, blah, blah. You know, unfortunately, you can't mark in this game. That would make it a bit too easy, though, wouldn't it? But just bear in mind, I'm behind them, so I'm out of their line of sight. But the moment you pass over into their line of sight, they'll shoot this thing down pretty quick. Well, maybe not on rookie. I'm on rookie, so they're like idiots. But yeah, it gets shot down pretty quick. And then now, no more drone. You still have a tablet, but just no more drone. You would have to hit back, by the way, to go back to your map. And don't forget to put your tablet back away. And that's not the only drone in the game. There's also a ground drone. I have even less experience with this one, but it's pretty straightforward. It's still a drone, but, you know, on the ground. Same dealio. Pull out your tablet, hit drone, launch drone. There it goes. More or less the same controls. The left side is your left and right trigger to go forward, left trigger to brake, and right D-pad to move your camera around. It's a little more, I think, awkward to use, but once you get the hang of it, and it's also much slower. Let's keep that in mind, because you know it's on the ground for one, and it just overall is just slower. But it probably has better chances of not getting shot at, because there's plenty of maps where you fly your drone up, and your drone, see right there. I'm like, oop, spotted him. Is there a reverse? There isn't a reverse. That's odd. Spotted them, and now you can go and hide your drone, and they won't shoot. It's whisper quiet, whereas your aerial drone, it gets shot at pretty easily, and good luck not getting your drone killed once it's been spotted. Let's see how much it takes for them to notice this thing. I think I would... Oh, there we go. Could also... has better survivability in running away. You could also maybe even bait some enemies into a certain location. I would assume that they'll chase it. And it probably has much more utility in PvP, being that it's so quiet, and you can essentially place it somewhere. Like, keep it viewed in one area, and you could do the same with the aerial drone. But it wouldn't be as quiet. You could take it, and the cool thing about your tablet is you don't have to keep it on your back. It still functions if you just leave it right there. So let's say I'm camping, you know, this area over here like a cool guy, and I have my drone, my ground drone set up over there, facing a certain corner or my rear or the only other approach that I don't have covered. If I still had my drone, I would be able to just sit. Let's say I'm sitting down, I can just look over and just spot it. Keep it within your line of sight and be like, oh, someone's coming, because you saw the movement. It could be super, super useful. So, wow. Why don't I try using that more? I should use it more. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. So, as a specialist, you have C4 and a Molotov. If I'm not mistaken, the Molotov is only available for the Volk if you're playing PvP, and the C4 only available for Marsoc. Actually, I got to admit, I've never used these before, so we're going to have a bit of a learning experience here. I'm going to take both. And these explosives are only available to the specialist class. This is one of those things that makes them special. Frankly, I haven't found very much utility with it yet, but that is just me. Okay, so there's our C4. There's our Molotov. Interesting. Can you drop it? Oh, that didn't work. All right, let's see how to use this thing. I think that's it. You dropped it, and I would assume that this thing on my shoulder here would detonate it, and we're about to find out if it does. Oh, okay. Oh, shit. How have I never used this? That's so cool. Okay, so you plant your C4. Unfortunately, you can't pick it back up after you've dropped it. Your detonator is right there on your chest, right chest. You press your trigger. Okay, so you grip it with the trigger, and then I would assume you squeeze it to blow it up. That is correct. Okay, we'll do it one more time. So we got C4. We're gonna put it right there. It is sticky. Get the Molotov there. Oh, okay. So you all. Oh, shh, I'm busy here. So to use the lighter, you press down on the D-pad and then down again to light it, and then light a Rooney, and then I would assume you throw it. Nice! And then as for the C4, same as before, left trigger to grip it. Oh, you guys want to walk into my C4? Huh? What's up? What's up? Come get me. Oh. Oh yeah, they're coming. Oh, come on. Where you going? Don't forget, it's right there. Oh! What? How did that not kill him? Aww. Well, that was lame. It's probably because he's standing on the side of the Humvee, so I guess it didn't kill him, even though, you know, I call it bullshit. Anyways, so that's the Molotov and the C4, only available at Target. Okay, right, so just to make it perfectly clear, riflemen, support, and marksmen have all of the same equipment and explosives, and specialist has all of the same equipment, but with the addition of C4 for MARSOC and Molotov for Volk under their explosives. Okay, so last up are our sidearms. And for a lot of people, their sidearm is kind of an afterthought because, you know, why use that when you have this thing? But, you know, it's important to know which one you like and have it with you and have it set up the way you like it, just in case. And that's really what it comes down to for the most part, is just in case. So on the MARSOC side of things, we got the M9, G17, M1911, and a flare gun. So it's also important to note that some of these do cost points. So if you're taking anything other than the M9, you're going to spend a point on it. So that alone would probably cause a lot of people to just take the M9, and there's nothing wrong with it. All of these guns have the same attachments. Iron sight, red dot, suppressor, flashlight, laser sight. I'm actually not a big fan of the red dot on pistols, believe it or not. I'll show you why. It's actually too small. And I mean, yes, I can see it. Yes, I can use it. But, it doesn't work at a distance for me. I have to keep it very close. And seeing as how, if you're using your pistol, there's a good chance that you're using it in a hurry. That's why you have, I have it up here on my chest. You can also have it at your waist, but I'm not a cowboy, so you know, let's say you're shooting at guys, and there's one more or two more than you expected, and your gun's dry. Well, you can't hurry up and reload, so you would drop it. I mean, sometimes you even drop your gun, and you just hurry up and I hit one of them. So seeing as how you would typically want to do that pretty quick, that's what makes me not a fan of the red dot on a pistol. And also, I think it looks dorky, to tell you the truth. I just don't like it. Basic operation for a pistol is pretty straightforward. Down for the magazine release, it drops free, and then you can pull back on the slide, if your slide is back, you can press forward to drop it. Yeah. So that being said, these pistols can be silenced, and it is very quiet. One use, definitely a good use for it, is if you want a loud gun, but you want the flexibility to shoot silenced, and say you're behind someone and you don't want to give away your position. Yeah, you quickly pull out your suppressed pistol and just and you can put a laser sight on it and a flashlight or whatever. They're kind of inconsequential. Well, I suppose the laser sight could come in handy if you're shooting one-handed, or if you need to shoot quickly. Of course, you can't see it right now because it's so bright. Jeez, I can't even see it. I'm right there. There it is. Yeah, I'm actually a pretty big fan of the iron sights. They're not hard to line up, and they work at a distance. And should you be in a panic and have to shoot one-handed, if you straighten your arm out, it's not hard to get the right angle. Of course, you do have to deal with the recoil on the follow-up shots, but your first shot, it's not hard to make it pretty accurate. And also, if you need to shoot quick, up close, it's very easy to do that. By the way, your pistol magazines are in the same place as your normal magazines. It's just when you have your primary weapon equipped, they're there. When you equip your pistol, boom, they magically appear right there. You can't grab them otherwise, and you wouldn't want to anyways. So as far as which pistol, by the way, they're all the same across all classes. As far as which pistol that you'd want to use, if you're not worried about points, the only real differences, and there's stats on it, but I'm not really too concerned about it for the most part. I'm only really concerned about the magazine size, and for some of them, the damage. Basically, the M9 and the G17 kind of line up. The G17 does have a couple more rounds than the M9 has, 17 to the 15, which is, really not that big of a deal. I don't really use this one because I don't like Glocks. I think they just look like big boxes that shoot bullets. But let's shoot it real quick and see if there's anything that feels significantly different about it. Yeah. I mean, the recoil-wise, it's definitely... I would say it's a bit more easy to control than the M9, but that's not saying much because the M9 is very controllable. But it does have that. The extra 2 bullets, obviously. We'll take it to the CQC range. Yeah, I mean, it works. All right, I like it. I don't think it looks great, but, when does that ever stop me? Question is, though, is it worth the 1 point that you have to pay for it? I don't know. So, the M1911 Classic, but Classic in the sense that it's a much more powerful round. It's got the 45 ACP, but the magazine size is very, very prohibitive. 7 rounds. That's not a lot of rounds. And if you're married to the idea of that gun because it's so iconic, that's great and that's fine. Not telling you not to use it, but if you've never shot one in real life, here's an example of how quickly you run out of ammo. Seven shots. And I did not miss. So, I don't think it's worth using in co-op, because if you're using your pistol in co-op, you're more than likely going to have an opportunity to shoot them with a second or third bullet pretty easily. So I would take comfort in that. I wouldn't worry about stopping power. Huh. I wonder if I can hit those from here. I wouldn't worry about stopping power with my pistol and co-op. However, in PvP, maybe it's worth doing that, using this in PvP, because I mean, if you're using your pistol in PvP, something's probably gone wrong. But if I were to only have a handful of shots to hit a player with, and there's only so many players, like, you have to understand, you're only ever going to be facing 5 other players, whereas in co-op, you could be facing like upwards of 20 to 30 NPCs. So maybe in co-op, yeah. I mean, PvP rather. Maybe in PvP. I don't know. It is a beautiful gun though, isn't it? Isn't it? And it's easy to control. You know, there is more recoil, but that's not really saying much. Oh, you can hit them from here. How about that? Well, that makes for some really long distance shots, doesn't it? Oh, wow. How about that? How about that? Anyways, under specialist, there are a couple of always weird ones. You have a taser. And, I mean, you know, it's an interesting thing happening there. You have a taser. It's, I believe it's one shot. I think this is for a very specific game mode. I forget what it's called. VIP. We have to capture a VIP. It is, you could say it's an instant kill, because if you hit somebody with it, it will incapacitate them. Technically, they're not dead, but, you know, as far as the game goes, they're dead. But that's it, you know. You're not reloading this, so it's that one-shot taser. Not much else to say about it. Yeah. And that's it for the MARSOC secondary weapons. Again, these are, I wouldn't bother with the red dot. It's not for me. Suppressor could definitely come in handy. Flashlight is, you know, if you have a flashlight and night vision, then what's the point? Maybe to blind someone, I guess, but then why would you be using your pistol for that? And the laser sight's okay, it's cool, but it's a whole another point, and there's a lot more you could be spending that point on. So, moving on to the Volk, it more or less lines up. They have the Makarov TT-30 5.7 and a flare gun. So the Makarov is their 0-point equivalent to the M9, but by no stretch is it the same, like, quality. It only has 8 rounds. I mean, and look at it. It looks like a pea shooter. I don't know why anyone would want this gun. I mean, it's just so unsatisfying. But yeah. I mean, technically, it's highly. I mean, look at that. Even the bullets are like disappointing. And I mean, yes, it's controllable. The iron sights suck. It's just caca. But if you don't have the points to spend, in that respect, it's very useful. The TT-30 is their equivalent to the 1911. It has the highest damage of their pistol, but also only 8 rounds. So this goes back to what I said about PvP, how if you want a sidearm with the most stopping power, if you're playing Volk, then yeah, the TT-30, you know, it's fine. You know, the iron sights are okay. I can't hit anything with it, though. Now, yes, what you have been waiting for. I don't know why you'd want to take anything other than the 5.7. I will spend the point on the 5.7, because first off, look at that. 20 rounds, 4 magazines. You have 80 bullets from your pistol. That's awesome. That's the highest magazine size for any pistol in the game. It beats the G17 by 3 rounds. It's chambered in a very strange caliber, 5.7, which is a much smaller round, and it does seem like they captured. It's like more of like a hypersonic round, if I'm not mistaken. It's very small, but very, very fast, and it does seem like they've captured that in the game because it's a very controllable gun. Yeah, this thing has saved me so many times in co-op when I've run out of ammo or I'm just in a panic. I mean, look at the recoil on that. And with 20 rounds and 4 magazines, like you could definitely just light up. This is the best pistol in the game, my opinion. I think in any context, it is better, even for one-handed shooting. Because even if you're not very accurate, you have so many rounds that like even like say like the VS VAL, the whatever that suppressed carbine is on Volk, that has 20 bullets. That has 20 bullets. Like, it's a no-brainer. Spend the point on it. Yeah, and then obviously they have a flare gun. This is kind of their special gun. It really serves no purpose. Yes, you can signal your allies for something, but it's only temporary because it falls down pretty quick. And you do only have one shot. The thing about it is, though, is that it will blind anyone using night vision. So if you are going to assault someone in a nighttime, PvP match, again, obviously this will make no difference for co-op. But for PvP, if you're playing on a night match and they're using night vision, you can light them up. And if they're anywhere near that, they're going to have to turn that night vision off or reposition. So, if you have somebody, storming them, and then you have someone else, have with Overwatch on their position, when you hit them with that, yeah, they're going to move. Your buddy who's camping them is going to shoot. As you get close enough, they're going to start running out, and you can light them up. I'm saying that in theory, of course. I have never actually used it in PvP, so don't take it from me so much. But, yeah, there's a flare gun. Ugh, look at this monstrosity. What's up, Sam Fisher? Alright, guys, that's it for the video. I know it might have been a long one, but I felt like covering all that stuff in separate videos would have made for too short of a video, so I don't know. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to check out the other tutorials if you haven't seen them yet. If you don't know about that, I cover every single gun in the game, every primary weapon, split up by class and by faction. Yeah, and I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.